This patient has severe crowding of the mandible. To align the midline, IPR will be applied mainly to tooth number 40. In the maxilla, we will align through rotation of the lateral incisors and canines. In layer 1, we will expand the anterior part to make space for rotation. You can perform anterior front expansion by selecting multiple teeth using Control key. You can reduce the rotation value in next layers by giving rotation in advance. We will start resolving anterior crowding by IPR between non-overlapping premolars. When applying IPR, cut parallel to the long axis of the tooth, applying it little by little, step by step, rather than applying a lot at once. Proceed with anterior expansion. Take care to avoid maxillary occlusal interference by maximizing the space secured by IPR. Resolves lingual inclination of canine by expanding with plus torque. In the mandible, we will add an expansion layer not to make overlapping teeth. The maxilla has already been expanded in layer 1, so we will proceed to layer 3, rotation layer. The mandible is severe crowding, so I'll apply an additional IPR. Apply 0.3 millimeters IPR between number 33 and 34, number 41 and 42, and number 43 and 44. In layer 3, we will align with rotation using the created space. Adjust the tip of tooth number 11 as well. At this time, an extrusion is added to prevent intrusion. By dividing rotation leveling in layer 4 through 5, corrected the drastic movement of the previous layer. I will adjust the axis of the central incisor and align the incisal line. Let's move on to the retraction layer. Layer 6 is a pre-retraction stage. and it is a layer that moves the teeth without a lot of arch line misalignment in advance. In the final layer, we will resolve the remaining space by giving a similar retraction value. You can increase the setup success rate if you apply overcorrection to evenly distribute the overlap amount. Extrusion of tooth number 31 seemed inefficient, so I added an extrusion in the rotation layer. If you want to modify the setup in the middle, you must input the same value to all previous layers from that layer. The maxilla is also finished with retraction. We will check whether the movement proceeds naturally from the initial to the final layer, and if there is no occlusal interference. Find the maximum movement value using superimpose function. The maximum movement value per layer is about 1.8 millimeters for tooth number 21 of the maxillar, and about 0.9 millimeters for tooth number 41 of the mandible. If you use medium and hard sheets, one layer can be divided into 3 steps for the maxilla and 2 steps for the mandible. Other layers also divide the steps based on the maximum movement distance. When dividing the steps, you need to look at the multiple directions and find the maximum movement point. Finally, check the numbers of aligners through Show All Steps function.